Good evening and welcome to our study tonight. I'd like to give you a little update. I haven't done it in a while of my health conditions. We just came back from MD Anderson, as a matter of fact, an hour ago. And we had some good news and some bad news. The large cancerous growth on my hip is gone. The treatment worked. But other cancers showed up in my sternum, in my chest, on the, above and below. So we'll go for a biopsy in about 2 weeks and then decide how to treat that. And they said, yes, there is treatment for it. So we appreciate your prayers. Keep praying for us. We're in God's hands. We know we trust him with everything we have. Well, let's go on to in the news. This week has been quite newsworthy. I'm just amazed at how much news is there. Um, President Donald Trump has hit the floor running. No, he has hit the floor racing to fulfill his campaign promises, affecting everything from immigration, climate change, oil exploration, health and medical research, as well as eliminating federal diversity programs, directives defining gender, and much, much more. Let me give you 15 of the almost 300 executive orders he signed just in a week. 1, unleashing American energy. 2, declaring a national energy emergency. 3, America First and international environmental agreements. 4, unleashing Alaska's energy potential. 5, ending weaponization of federal government. He fired 18 inspectors general. 6, getting federal workers back in their offices. 7, holding former government officials accountable for election interference. These are in order that he made them, by the way. 8, reforming the federal housing system. 9, ending government-sponsored DEI programs all across the government. 10, restoring biological truth to the government. 2 sexes, male and female. None others will be accepted. 11, establishing DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. 12, restoring names that honor American greatness, like Mount McKinley for Mount Denali and the Gulf of America. 13, ending federal censorship. 14, withdrawing us from WHO, the World Health Organization, which I have an article and tells you it's just in the nick of time that he withdrew us from there. 15, securing our borders, and over 200 more executive orders. Some of them will be challenged, some of them will go right through. But I'm telling you, he has hit the floor running. And I think we're back again. I think we're back on top. Let's talk about the next one, about WHO. We got out of WHO just in time. If Donald Trump had not decided to pull the United States out of the World Health Organization, we could have had a real nightmare on our hands. The WHO's pandemic accord, it's quote unquote, is scheduled to be finalized on May of 2025 this year. And the drafts of that agreement that we have seen already are extremely alarming. The WHO's bottom line is an intent in taking over the sovereignty of governments should another pandemic happen. We got out just at the right time. Freedom is at stake for all those nations who are still part of WHO. And maybe because we got out, other nations will. I hope so. WHO has taken way too much power, and they want even more. They want to run the world, especially if there's a pandemic. Could you imagine if they had all this agenda in line prior to the COVID pandemic? The bottom line, we dodged a bullet because it appears that the next global pandemic, which could be monkeypox, they're worried about it right now, continues to spread in 3 nations in Central Africa, not to mention the bird flu, which is also spreading. The last people we want controlling our government or us is the left-leaning, power-hungry WHO. Let's go a little bit further. And that is a great thing he's done. By the way, I'm excited with everything he's done. I know some of it's controversial, but he is putting Americans first. Let's talk about Israel. How does Iran's dwindling power factor into the future Ezekiel 38 war? The Middle East is literally changing before our eyes. The events surrounding Iran, Syria, Russia, and Turkey signal a movement toward the Gog-Magog war of Ezekiel chapter 38. And if you're a prophecy buff, as I am, and a student of prophecy, that Gog-Magog war may happen. As a matter of fact, it's probably going to happen before a rapture. So right now, with Israel knocking out the air capabilities, the army capabilities, and the ability to manufacture bombs in Syria and in Iran, it would be an easy task for them to wipe out Iran's nuclear operations. Because of the diminished power and influence of Iran, they are defenseless right now against Israel. And many in the Israeli government think that now is the perfect time to attack those frontiers, those nuclear capabilities. Tehran is a sitting duck after the Israeli Air Force totally destroyed Iran's S-300 anti-aircraft radar system. It was quite a sophisticated system. It is no longer. Israel can fly over Iran anytime it wants. There'll never be a bomb thrown at them, never be a missile thrown at them. That means, that at any moment, Israel can launch an airstrike on Iran's nuclear program. By the way, President Trump has actually vowed to give Israel bunker busting bombs to do just that. He's even told them that he's okay with them taking out the nuclear capability of Iran. Man, far cry from an Obama or a Biden administration. So enter Russia and Turkey and the possible Gog-Magog war. We'll keep you informed. Let's go a little bit further and tell you a little bit about moral decay. This is amazing. If you want to chalk up a victory tonight, chalk this one up. Especially for Christians, especially for conservatives. And there is more at the end of this article, I'll tell you. Moving target is what this is called. How Americans push the pioneer of woke retail to a breaking point. Last Friday was a great moment for conservatives in the United States. After years of pushing the LGBT bandwagon, Target finally surrendered on its woke agenda, handing an army of woke consumer activists one of the most symbolic scalps yet. First to open women restrooms for men, they were. First to sell chest binders. First packing underwear and tuck-friendly swimwear. Target was a pace setter for transgenderism and the LGBT agenda. Their president pushed it over and over and over again, doubled down when everyone went against him, actually convinced his board of directors to go with him. Bold in their marketing, they said that their woke approach would drive up sales and value of Target. It's just the right thing, I'm quoting him, for us to do, they said. They couldn't have been more wrong. Americans reacted and punished Target, leading to a massive dip in its stock that continues to this day. This past Friday, Target announced it will not market Pride merchandise. They will end their 3-year DEI goals. What a victory. By the way, there's more coming. Let me give you a couple of them that are happening. So also throwing in the towel on DEI and LGBTQ marketing are titans like Walmart, McDonald's, Tractor Supply, John Deere, Harley Davidson, Polaris, Indian Motorcycles, Lowe's, Ford, Coors Beer, Black & Decker, Jack Daniels, DeWalt Tools, Craftsman, Caterpillar, Boeing, Toyota, and Nissan. When I say America is back, America is back. The woke agenda is dead. And finally, CEOs realized this did not help their bottom line. All this did was push an agenda. Maybe Target will get back to selling merchandise. That would be nice. Maybe Ford will get back to selling cars. That would be nice. Maybe Harley would get back to selling Harleys. That's what being a retailer in America is. It's not having an agenda that you push. Let's go a little bit further in the news. Tell you a couple things about Planet. This one's kind of disgusting. Save the planet, don't have kids. The green agenda is getting rid of as many humans as possible. That's part of their agenda. For those who are for climate change, fighting population growth is one of their number one goals. You never hear that. By the way, $50 billion sent for condoms for Gaza. That's what Biden did. This is how absurd this stuff is. It's absurd. They inflate them and they tie bombs to float them over Israel, the Gazans do. So why control the population, and why even think that sending condoms to Gaza is going to control the population? Well, they tell us that each additional human produces about 4 tons of carbon dioxide per year. So they are convinced that controlling and cutting back the population of the world will control climate change. Think of the logic here. Flawed, but think of it. These people's brains are in their feet. They're about as intelligent as snails. So they believe in sterilization, assisted suicide, abortion, anything to bring the population of the planet down. The WEF asked the question at the Davos meeting. Here's what they asked. How many people are too many to sustain life on planet Earth? Their answer? They said the world needs to be reduced to 2 billion people to fight climate change. So my question is, what are you going to do with the other 6 billion that are here right now? It's actually a demonic agenda. And it's still alive in the rest of the world. We may be opting out, thank God, but it's still alive. And this one nobody talks about, but I've said this and I've talked about it several times, my last in the news. And I want us to be aware of it for a couple of reasons. Around the planet, there are three what are called supervolcanoes. One is in Russia, one is in Chile, South America, and one is in Yellowstone National Park. These supervolcanoes are not like a regular volcano. If they erupt, like the one in Yellowstone, if it erupts, it'll destroy the Western Hemisphere. You hear me, right? Everything in the Western Hemisphere will be affected by it. It's massive. This chart shows you the granitite magma that is underneath the Yellowstone caldera. All of Yellowstone is a caldera. Caldera is what's left once a volcano blows. This is huge, gigantic, and the magma is still under it. Yellowstone hotspot under a mantle magma and the heat source. So they have heat still coming in. And we now know this week that there are more signs. We're seeing crustal stretching. We're seeing the bulging of the basalt magma. We're seeing an intrusion into the crust. We're seeing lakes start to tip, and we're starting to see some vents that weren't there. Here's the article. Seismic activity on the rise at Yellowstone, Mount Rainier, and San Andreas fault line also. We are being warned by volcanologists that a gigantic volcano off the coast of Oregon could soon erupt. This is not even the caldera of Yellowstone, but that's the whole area. In New England, we're hearing about shaking, houses shaking like crazy after a very strange earthquake this week. We have been witnessing unusual seismic activity all over the globe. Remember what Jesus said? The earthquakes in diverse places, many places, different places. 906 earthquakes in California and Nevada in the last 7 days. 906. What does that mean? Well, in the last 20 years, there's an average of about 5 earthquakes over 4.0 each year. Scientists are continuing to warn us that the signs show that we are overdue for a massive California quake. Of course, they've called it the big one for a long time. They're putting that moniker on it again. They call it the big one. And they said it will dramatically alter the geography of the coastline of California on a permanent basis. So our planet isn't as secure as most people like to think. As a matter of fact, it's really not secure at all. And the only security we get is in God and in His Word, which brings